20 years now, and I'm a consultant. What I do is I go into small to mid-sized companies and help do turnarounds. I predominantly focus on sales and marketing. Having said that, prior to starting my own company, I was division director for Robert Half in downtown St. Louis in the Met Square building. And I ran a team of recruiters and placement people. And what we did was we placed consultants on a contract basis, project basis. And prior to that, I worked for a bunch of Fortune 500 companies you might have heard of, like IBM and Xerox and Owens Corning Fiberglass, and a lot of big companies like that. So, Prudential, people like that. So, I kind of decided after I'd done the Fortune 500 that I liked the smaller companies better because it was a little bit more hands-on, a little bit more stuff I got to do. So, I developed a process through all of those different jobs called closed-looped and integrated management. It's a 6-step process that allows you to take control and claim success in multiple different venues. How I would apply it to each of you today is, as a college student and or graduate, I think sometimes we wait for the jobs to come for us. Everybody get real excited when the new postings come out. What day do your new postings come out? Friday, Monday? But he's like, woo, new jobs, yay! Let's go see what we can find. Interviews, people coming to campus, and you go out and say, oh, who do I want to meet with? You know, my whole philosophy on that is that program is flawed. Though it's helpful, it's flawed. And it's flawed in one way, and that is you're letting the job and career come to you instead of going out and finding exactly what fits. How many of you like to shop? Okay, how many of you got a new tie, new suit, new shoes, whatever? When you go to shop, do you like it when someone says, here's the 5 things you can pick from? You like to go out and get what you want to get, don't you? And isn't half the fun digging through all of it and finding exactly what you want that's just you? If you're going to do that with the clothes that you wear and your accessories, why wouldn't you do that with your career? That's what claim success is all about. So, my whole philosophy on jobs is they don't just happen. You have to go out and make them happen. How many of you know exactly what you want to do when you graduate? What do you want to do?
I'd like to work for college.
Go and doing what?
Academy, entry-level, family rotation, 2-year rotation program.
Okay, hold on to that. Anybody else got something that they know they want to do, even if you don't know what company, but what specific job you want to do? Yes?
Strategy and operation consultant.
I'm sorry, I can't.
Management consultant.
Management consulting, what size firm, what kind of place, what kind of anything?
Big 3 or accounting firm, like Big 3 or Big 4.
Okay, you two both are very, very busy. We're going to use you as examples. Is anybody got something a little bit more vague than that they're not sure about? Kind of know what I want to do, but not. Anybody? For the NFL. That's very specific too. That's a good, all you guys are very specific. This is great. But it's going to make my job way too easy. We're going to be done in 15 minutes. Go ahead.
I want to influence the minds of others.
Oh, now that's a little too vague. How are you going to do that?
But I like to do like promotional marketing type thing.
Promotional marketing. Do you want to do it for a specific industry or a size company? Or?
I could music and sports.
Okay, this is going to be a really good example. I told you I wouldn't pick on you, but you're like going to be a really
Okay, that's fine.
harder example than these guys, okay? So, what I'm going to tell you is, it's not what job you get, but what job you seize. Because a job is a job is a job is a job. And I cannot tell you how many college students I say, talk to them on an interview, and they go, I just want a job. I just need to work. I got to pay my bills. I got student loans. I want a job. Does that make me really fall in love with you and want to hire you? It's kind of like the dog that runs up and is slathering at the mouth because he's starving to death and he's all skinny and bony. Do you want to reach out and feed that dog? Because what's going to happen?
It's going to fight you.
You got a high probability of getting bit. That's exactly right. So when I have someone talking to me on an interview that says, I kind of think I might want to do, I just really need a job, it doesn't entice me to want to work with them. Okay? So that's the first flaw, is you have to know what you want in order to get it. So we're going to give you a real easy 6-step process. It's easy if you take the time to do the first step right. The hardest part, anytime you take a journey, don't they always say the first step is the hardest? How many of you ever tried to do a workout program and, oh, that first week is the worst because you're so sore and it hurts? When you're on a diet, it's hard to give up the potato chips and the soda that first week, or the sweets. Just like that, the first step is the hardest in claiming your success. So, the first thing you need to do is think about what you really want to do. The hard part is, you guys are not, I mean, you've been doing a whole lot of stuff, so it's hard to know what you like to do, isn't it? What are some ways you can figure out what you like? You can take a lot of different classes and try on different things. Oh, let's see, I was taking an accounting class and I realized I really, really, really hated audits. Having to go back and try to find that nickel that's off, or what's going on here, find this piece of paper, and where, I didn't like that. That didn't work for me. But I didn't know it till I took that class. What's another way we can figure out what we like and don't like? How many of you have a mentor? Have you seen an adult? Let's just use Don. I'm going to pick on Don because he's like really charismatic. What if you said, gosh, that guy is happy, I like his job, he's successful, I want to be like him. If you picked up the phone and called Don and said, Don, dude, I want to be like you. Will you give me 15 minutes of your time to talk to me? What do you think he's going to say?
Yes.
He's going to say yes. He's going to tell you, I don't have a job for you, but I'll talk to you. All you want to do is understand what people do every day. Your job while you're in college, and most of you being freshmen is awesome. You're going to be exposed to so many CEO level people and professionals. Every single one of them, the first question I want you to ask him is, what do you do? And do you like it? Tell me about, have you ever heard that song, A Day in the Life? Give me a day in life. What does a day in your life look like? I've owned my own company for 13 years. You know I've had 2 people ask me that question. What does a day look like for an entrepreneur who owns their own company, who's a consultant for marketing? What do you do all day? Oh, I don't know, but I like her title and her paycheck, so I'm gonna take her job. Well, you don't even know what I did. So again, the first step is understanding what your choices are. The best way to do that is to look at the people around you and learn from them. The best thing you can do right now over the next several years in college, those of you that are freshmen, those of you that are seniors, you got to do it really fast, is figure out, days like today when you've got 55 professionals here, all in different industries, find some that are similar to what you think you might want to do and say, tell me about your job, tell me what you do. Yeah, that sounds like something I'd like to do. Okay? And then the next question is, where do you want to be located? I love the students that say, I love to travel, I'll go anywhere. The minute I say, okay, we have an opening in Dublin, Ireland, they go, dude, I can't leave the U.S. My mom would kill me. Okay, so you want to stay in the United States, right? Yeah, okay, how about North Dakota? A lot of hiring going on in North Dakota. Ooh, I don't like the snow. Okay, so you're not going anywhere in the U.S. Think about what you really want to do and where you want to do it at. I had a guy I met that loves California. He's a surfer. He said, I don't care what I do, but I'm doing it in California. Dude, all right, let's figure it out. Know what the things are that are important to you before you begin this process. If you don't even know what's important to you, then how in the world are you going to sell yourself and convince somebody else to hire you? You're not. Yes?
Do you really talk about putting in Ireland?
Actually, I saw one yesterday online for another person I'm working with, and he is interested. It's a sales guy. Okay. So, if you find this job that this person's doing that seems interesting to you, and you've got the qualifications with your education, or you can change your classes around to get those qualifications, then you have to figure out personal strengths and weaknesses. Let me give you a hint. Remember the accounting job I talked about? Guess what my hardest part for that job was for me? Sitting still and being quiet. It was not something I was good at. Wasn't good at it. So that didn't work for my personality style, because guess what? At the end of the day, your personality doesn't change. You can modify it slightly, but you're not going to change. Okay? So once you know what you want, where you want to be, what the job looks like, and if your skills and experience even come close to matching that, then it's real easy. Then we just put together a short list and focus, and we go down the next set of steps. But the very first step is knowing yourself well. So let's just say we want to be an accountant at Boeing. Okay? Who else is looking at being an accountant at Boeing? I bet if anybody in the accounting program got an offer from Boeing, they would go and talk to them, don't you think? They got an offer for an interview? So you're going to have a lot of competition in the bigger companies. And they're not going to be just from St. Louis. They're going to be from all over. So you need to know how your skills stack up against those other people. That's where job fairs like today do really well for you. That's when you work with your career placement offices to have them talk to alumni. There's all kinds of different things you can do to get better at it. So the very first step is write down what you want, where you want to be, what your strengths and weaknesses are, and your classes and experiences, okay? Then we're going to move into interfacing. How do we figure out who those companies are on our short list? Okay, I'm just going to say the Fortune 500 and the top 3 accounting firms and all that stuff. Guess what you guys have that I didn't when I started? You've got the internet with a tremendous amount of information out there. Oh my gosh, job searches today are so much easier than when I was in school. I went to the University of Illinois, graduated in the top 10% of my class, and I was writing for annual reports for the companies that I wanted to work from, so that I could, because they didn't have big websites with every employee and all their benefits and any jobs that are out there and all their locations, and oh, by the way, go to LinkedIn and see everybody else who works for them, and oh, does this person know that? But there was none of that. It was all paper-based. So you guys have it a lot easier because there's so much information at your fingertips. What disappoints me is how few of us use it. There is a top 500, Fortune 500 list out there. Any of you, how many of you want to work for Fortune 500, first of all? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Not even half, okay? So most of you are looking at smaller companies, or you don't know yet? Don't know yet. Okay, so I'm just going to tell you, it's always easier to go to Fortune 500 first and then smaller companies, but once you start with smaller companies, it's much harder to go bigger. So probably the best time for you to try to do Fortune 500 or big companies is right out of college, because you get a tremendous amount of experience and learning, and you have all the connections now that you won't have once you get into a smaller organization. But let's just say, for the sake of argument, that we're all looking for a large firm. But public information out there, I can actually get a list of the top 500 companies in the United States, and on that list, they'll have a profile of every one of the companies. They've been in business this long, these are the products they specialize in, here's the different locations they have, they're global, no, they're just in the U.S., you know, there's all different kinds of information. They usually have the CEO, the CFO, the CIO, and all the big guys are all listed too. They have all the contact information. Now, we're just seniors in college. Are we going to write a letter right to that CEO and say, dude, you got to hire me? No, because that's not going to work. It's going to get put in the circular file. So what you want to do then is say, okay, if I've got this list, I'm going to look through the companies. Which ones look like they fit me best? Here's what's really funny. When I went to work for IBM, I thought I would love IBM. And I did because of their products. I was back selling computers when we were ripping people's hands off mainframes and putting them on desktop computers. I know you guys can't remember this. This is really sad. We were still doing DOS commands. Okay, so, and we had Xerox word processing systems, dedicated word processing systems where people were figuring out with their IBM Selectrics they didn't have to do the erase button anymore. They could actually do it on screen and print it out 65 times if they wanted. It was wonderful. Having said that, I was so in love with the product that what I didn't realize when I went to work for IBM was I'm not really good at fitting in a mold. Everybody wore navy blue all the time. And Thursday, you wore navy blue with your blue shirt. Monday was always your white shirt. You think I'm joking. This was very, very serious back then. They had a dress code, and you had to stick to it. I made it 1 year at IBM. I was their top rep, got this humongous silver platter for being top sales rep, and said, that's it, I'm done. Gotta go somewhere else. Because I couldn't be my own person. So, you know, then I went to work for Xerox, which was really much more contemporary, and it worked a lot better for me. I was still able to sell and still able to do a lot of those things. But my point to you is, as you're looking at the culture, and you're looking at the environment, all the stuff that they're saying, are the products things that you're interested in? Their products and services. Do you even like it? You know, if you don't want to sell prearranged funerals, don't go into that industry. You know, if it's not something you like or something that you think you can get interested in, then don't sell it. If you don't like to do audits, probably don't go into that part of their company. You probably want to look at something else. Consulting. Someone tell me the thrill of all you guys with consulting. Can someone answer that question for me? Why does everybody love consulting here? Help me understand that one.
Networking, benefits, the type of work, I think just like the profile for the consulting gives out is very appealing, but necessarily the work isn't. Like the work is, but I think once you get into it, that honeymoon period will end as well. But
So I'll tell you my take on consulting, because Robert Half, that's all I did was consulting. What happens to me is I get bored very quickly. What I loved about consulting is my environment changed all the time. I'm a real puzzle solver. I like to figure things out. And it was great when I could go into an organization, get in, handle the project, fix it, and then instead of just watching it going, yep, still running, yep, it's still working, let me get you a report on that, it's still happening. What I realized about my personality is I like to build it, make it happen, solve all the problems, and then leave. Consulting was a really good industry for me because I didn't have to stick around and just watch it. Now, having said that, that's a really important job, is to make sure it continues to function and make sure the modifications are happening. So I'm not diminishing, but I liked more diversity and change and all that. So, which, by the way, finally someone told me, hey, you know what, you should be an entrepreneur, that's what they like. So, having said that, you need to look at the profile of the company. What products and services are they handling? Is it stuff you'd like? Does the day-to-day look like something that's interesting to you? And then you have the greatest invention there ever was. You have LinkedIn. I can go in and say, okay, let's say we want to go to work at Boeing. I'm going to pick on you. We're going to go to work at Boeing. I want you to go into your LinkedIn contacts and see how many of those people are connected to somebody at Boeing. You will be surprised. You've ever heard that 6 degrees of separation? You'll be amazed at how many people know people who know people. And if you haven't taken the time to look for those connections, shame on you. So find those connections. Find all those places. Here's a really funny one. I had a guy, when I was at Mizzou doing the same presentation, and I had one of the reps say to me, I want to sell technology, but you can't help me with that. And I said, you don't know that. And they said, no, really, you can't. You aren't in technology. You own your own company, and it's a marketing firm. I said, okay, I get that. I said, so go talk to somebody else then. The kid said, yeah, I really want to sell for a big technology firm. Big firm. Like, you know, Apple, Google, and Microsoft, and all that. I said, okay, go talk to somebody else then if you don't think I can help you. The guy about 2 weeks later contacts me, goes, I just realized you've got a bunch of contacts in the technology industry. I do. It's really funny. Then he found out I slept with the director of Microsoft. Oh, my husband. All I'm telling you is you don't know who my husband is until you look at me. And you don't know that my son's best friend is now the Android programmer at Google. And if I told him I was coming out and wanted an interview, he'd probably set one up for me. If you don't take the time to look for those connections, shame on you. So if I'm sitting there with you, Justin, I'm going to pick on you, and you say you want to do marketing and you want to do it in the music industry, I am so excited and da-da-da-da-da-da. I say to you, you know what, Justin, I can help you with some of the marketing. I get that. I do marketing. But you know, if you're really looking at the music industry, let me connect you with the guy who's the programming director at Camel Country down in Arizona, who also is the programming director for 125 radio stations. Do you think you might want to meet with him? I'm not doing this to drop names, but what I'm telling you is when you look at me and what I'm doing, you may not think there's connections. Look at Don. Don manages portfolios of some of the most successful people in this region. How many of them are his customers? You don't know, because he's not going to sit there and say, oh, I work with the CEO at Ameren UE, and I work with the... He's not going to do that. But if you said, Don, I really need help. This is what I really want to do, and here's how I want to do it. He's going to say, let me connect you with some people I know. That's what networking is all about. And that's the piece in the second step that you have to identify. But what's the problem with the second step? You don't know the first step. You're going to say, dude, I just want a job. Do you know anybody that can help? And they're going to go, sure don't. So you have to know what you want to do, and you have to know that you're qualified to do it. I can't change that. If you don't have that up front, the rest just doesn't work. But if you have that, if you've taken the time to learn what you want to do, and figure out that I think this might be a job I like, then the networking part becomes very easy because people inherently like to help people. And the other thing I'm going to tell you is don't go with just one contact. Go with multiple contacts. Try in the organization. And here's another thing that's really lovely. I love the websites. In fact, they're really foolish to do it, but I love the websites where they say, about us, and they have every single person listed with their title and their extensions, and I can call them direct. It's amazing. As a recruiter, it was my #1 place to recruit from. I need a CIO for something, I would go out and find a similar company, pull up their CIO, if the name was there, I'd contact him direct and try to steal them. It's easy. So much information is out there. I'll tell you another one. How many of you have ever seen the St. Louis Business Journal or San Francisco Business Journal or whatever business journal? How many of you have ever seen the Business Journal? Okay? That business journal every single week has people who've gotten promoted. New positions, don't they? You ever see that? It's got like that big sheet, everybody's headshot, and what they're doing. Hello? Go back and do a search. You can go right to the Business Journal's, American Business Journal's homepage, go to the area you're looking for, and do a search on a company. Find out everybody who's gotten promoted. Hey, if they hired a couple of college kids, who's the easiest person to talk to? I'm a college kid. How did you get your job? You know, is there somebody you can introduce me to? But again, if you don't know where you want to go and what you want to do, it's really hard to do that. So we've made our list of our top accounts. We're trying to find multiple contacts within those accounts, right? That's step 2. I'll give you one other thought, and that is you guys have a wonderful alumni association. Any of you who are going to WashU or Mizzou or SLU or I was with the University of Illinois. I can tell you I still go back to my alumni group and say, does anybody know somebody who works at Boeing, works for a big accounting firm, is looking for a marketing person for music, blah, blah, blah. I can go and put it out there and find all kinds of people. Okay? So now we know the people, we know what we want to do. What are we going to do? Step 3, we're going to have our plan, our marketing plan. Here's where most of us get kind of screwed up. Let's say, Justin, you said, dude, she knows that dude from Camel, I'm calling her. Did you set me up an interview? What's wrong with that?
They're asking for a favor, you haven't given anything in return.
Bingo, and it's my reputation with that person to say, oh, Justin's a great guy, you gotta talk to him. I don't know if Justin's a great guy. I don't really know. Good-looking young man, he's got a lot of ideas in his head, but I don't know, I'm not ready to put my name on him.
He's a great guy.
What if you could do this? What if you called me and said, Diana, you know, all I want is a virtual introduction. Can you get me a virtual introduction to Alan and I'll take it from there. I don't expect you to do this. All I want is a virtual introduction. How hard was that for me to do? Hi, Alan. I met this guy at one of the career fairs. He's interested in this. Why don't you two see if there's anything you're interested in together? Boom, done. I'm done. 2 seconds. Did that hurt me? Did I recommend you? All I did was a virtual introduction. Easy cheesy, bright and breezy. Nothing hard about that. Let's say, she said, one of you guys, is anybody looking at technology? Anybody want to get into technology in here? Oh, no geeks in this room. No wonder I was wondering. Anyway, so let's say one of you guys was looking at technology and said, oh, she's into Microsoft. We're going to have her. Can I meet your husband? Sure. I'll call him. Here's his card. Boom. Wouldn't it be better to say I'd like a virtual introduction? And then when you meet with Brett, my husband, you say something like this. I just would like to understand your position with Microsoft, how you got there, what kind of path you took. Can you help me understand how, if I were interested in something like that, I might go? Have I asked him for a job yet? No. You do not ask for the job on these marketing appointments. What you're doing is, you're being Jason Bourne's spy. You're spying. You're trying to find out as much as you can so that when you're sitting in front of the right person at the interview, you don't have to go, so what are your goals for the next 10 years? As your question. You can say, you know, as I was reading through it, I saw that you did this. How did that product go up against it? How are you handling that with your value-added resellers? They're going to go, who's this kid? Where's his resume? What's going on? What happens is they come after you then. If you go in informed in the interview, you will have a much higher success ratio. But that means you have to do some homework. I know you guys really hate writing papers in college. Gotta have a bibliography with all your sites. Guess what? You're used to research already. It's the one thing all of you should be very good at by now if you're at a good school. journals. Oh, let's say we want to go to smaller companies. I don't want to go with the big companies. St. Louis Business Journal goes just in St. Louis, and it has the top 1,000 companies in St. Louis, size-wise. Most of them are not Fortune 500. Most of them are not even Fortune 1000. But they're good, solid companies, and they're by industry. If I want to get into the medical industry, boom. If I want to get into the science industry, boom. Technology, there you go. Consulting, here you go. They've got the top 5 consulting firms with profiles, with contacts, with information, where they're located, what they do, what they specialize in. There's so much information out there, but most of you don't take the time to look it up and see it before you go in the interview. So we're on the marketing call, talking to these contacts. I'm asking them to do virtual introductions. I'm trying to understand what they do in a day. I'm trying to work with them to get more information so that I'm better prepared. And now, we actually have the interview. We've actually got to the person we need to get to. Sometimes it's an HR person, sometimes it's the director themselves. It's just there's a lot of different people, and you don't know who that person is. That's why you need to have that internal champion to help you find out who the person is you need to be talking to. So let's take your Boeing example again. How many people do you know at Boeing?
Well,
One. Who is that?
somebody in the university that
Okay. And do you think that if you contacted that person and said, look, I'm really interested in Boeing, who could be somebody I could talk to learn more about it, specifically in the accounting arena? Do you think that they would do that?
well, I actually tried to lock our attorney and never responded back, so I don't know.
Okay. So then my next comment is, if that was a dud contact, who else can we talk to? Who else do we know?
Looks like there's some people from Bowling here today, so.
How about asking some of the people that you do know, or going into their LinkedIn profile? Go look at Don's LinkedIn profile, see who he knows. See if I know anybody at Boeing. Actually, I used to, but he went to private now. He's a consultant now, so I don't know anybody at Boeing right now. But again, start looking for those connections. We get to that person. You know what? I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the interview and your resume because that's what today is all about. But that's when you do your presentation. How much better is your? How many of you guys are a little nervous about the interviews today? Okay. What is the thing that makes you most nervous about interviewing?
Panel interviews are the most nervous for me because it's, they got numbers against you. Kind of.
Actually, it's easier that way because they all have to behave in front of each other. I have to tell you, I like panel interviews a lot better than one-on-ones because one-on-ones, people can get kind of rough. You know, you got to remember, when you're sitting across from me, I'm trying to figure out why I want to hire you or if I want to hire you and looking for red flags not to hire you, and you're looking at trying to make me excited so that I want to hire you. One-on-one, we're doing the dance, but as a team, everybody has to partake and everybody's worried about stepping on each other's toes. So the team, the panel interviews, in my opinion, and I did a lot of them, are a lot easier. They're a lot easier than the one-on-ones, in my opinion. What kind of questions and comments are you most nervous about? I know we got to get done here real quick. So.
Talking about a time when you worked with the team and maybe the team didn't get along.
Okay, that's a really hard question. There's some really easy tips on that one. If you want to see me after the meeting, I can give you some ideas on that one. But the thing that you're most nervous about when you're in an interview is having to prove that you really want to work with these people. And it's really hard in mock interviews because you don't even know what company you're interviewing when it's really kind of not even real. Let's say I really want to work for your company, but I don't know what it is because it's fake. And, you know, it's hard. Mock interviews are hard. They are. So the best thing you can do is show your focus, your desire, and I tell you what, I was going through the resumes because I'm on a couple of the panels, and I was going through my resumes. I had 8 of them. It was amazing to me. I could absolutely tell the people who knew exactly what they wanted to do and were prepared to go out and make it happen. And those are the interviews I'm most excited about because I want to see how they got from here to here and how I can help them get to that place. It's harder when you have someone that says, well, I think I might like to go into accounting, but I'm not really sure. And maybe I want to do nonprofit, but I'm just not sure. It's hard to come up with good questions to ask those people because, especially freshmen, because you guys could change your mind 100 times. Between now and then, you may have a class. I'll tell you, I have one of my sons had a class in economics, and he thought he wanted to be an economics major until he took that class. He's like, "Oh no, that is not what I want to do anymore." Now I want to, go more towards this. Okay? So you have to, the first step is to know yourself and what you want to do. The second is to know what companies and areas you want to work at and start making those contacts, right? Your third step, if you've got something broken, if you don't know what's right on your resume, if it's not right or you're not prepared for your interviews, don't go blow that chance you have at that one job you really want if you're not prepared. Okay? And then the fifth one is use all the contacts you have and be ready for that interview. Be focused, know what you want to do, even if you're not sure. Say, it's between these two things. I'm really not certain. I'm hoping to meet someone from your organization that I can talk to about what they actually do so I know better. Then, once you're through all that, at the end of your interviews, thank them, handwrite the notes, and then if you don't get any callbacks or anything, I challenge you to call them back or contact them back either in writing or email and say, you know what, do you have any suggestions for me? Things I might want to do differently. That's what today is all about, in my opinion, is us giving you suggestions, and you don't have to take any of them. You can say, my interview's just perfect the way it is. I got A+ in my class on resume writing, and I know mine's good. I'm not changing a thing. I don't care what Diana says. Don't change it then. Because at the end of the day, the thing that's most important is that you feel comfortable and confident with what's going on. Because then, you're going to make the changes if necessary, and then you're going to repeat the process. If you get through all the way through and decide radio is not what you want to do, maybe you decide you want to go with the symphony orchestras instead. Start the exact same process again, the list just changes, right? 6 steps, easy cheesy. Questions? I guarantee you if you do this, you will have success because you will make it happen, not just letting it roll over you. Yes?
Do people ever feel offended when someone approaches them like you just to try and get people that you know? Just to try to talk to people?
I don't mind it so much, especially if you've done the homework. What I don't like is if you walk up and say, hi, Mrs. McMahon, do you know anybody that works at St. Louis Bread Company? Because I really would like to be in their corporate office. I don't know. Check my LinkedIn and see if I know anybody at Bread Company. But if someone's done their homework, Diana, I noticed that you know the manager at whatever. Could you do a virtual introduction for me? I'm never offended by that. Never. But it is hard when you're asking me to do your job of stuff that you guys should be able to do on your own, some of the research. And it's really offensive when you just call and say, hey, you know anybody who's hiring? I need a job. That's really hard because I'm not a recruiter anymore. When I was a recruiter, I get that. Now, having said that, I've got a really great friend who owns a Apple business, and she's looking for a key person. I didn't bring it out there because it's not my job to give, but if I saw someone in the room that was absolutely a ringer for the job, would I say, you know what, you need to talk to my friend. She's really looking for someone just like you. It's at least worth an interview. I'd absolutely do that. How many calls do you think Don gets in a day from college kids?
Over 9,000.
I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine because he's a very helpful guy. I'm telling you, you need to value his time as much as he's valuing yours. And say, can I get this? I'm looking at your link because you can see everybody's LinkedIn contacts, guys. Hello? Look, see them. See who knows who. And go out and try to get those introductions. And then if you can't do that, go to your alumni association. There's not an alumni. There has to be a benefit for going to a big university. And the best benefit I can think of is huge alumni programs, and they keep data and records of all of that. Who do you go to have guidance counselors say, okay, who do we know at Boeing who's been a Mizzou graduate? Or a SLU graduate, or whatever graduate, because I'd really like to talk to them. Offer to buy them a cup of coffee and have a conversation about how would I go about working in your company. I really think it's the place I want to be because I've looked and here this. Questions? Yes?
After I do my research on the camera thing, can I contact you about setting up a virtual interview?
We'll always do virtual introductions to anybody that you see on my list. Absolutely. And I also love to watch. I have two sons in college. I'm going through this with you. Trust me. Every mother wants their kids to be successful. And I'm right there with all the rest of y'all's mothers. I want each of you to find success. But the point that I'm making here is part of the responsibility is yours. If you're waiting for it to come to you, you deserve whatever you get. You'll get a job. I guarantee you'll get a job. but you won't get the career that you really want, and that you paid a fortune to go to education and get the education and backing and experience. You're in a fraternity of people that are trying to do everything they can to help you find success. But you need to do some of the work. These 6 steps are not hard, but you need to do them. And the sooner you do them, especially if you're freshmen, the sooner you get an ID, the better you're going to be able to pick the classes and the experiences and the internships you want. Tourism. Yes?
Do you have any sort of scenario or something to give us on a lot of things these days? Everything is submit your resume on our website or send your resume to this. Please do not contact us in any way, shape, or form. We will contact you.
Okay.
That happens all the
I can tell you this. Listen to something I'm going to say. If you don't listen to anything else I say, because you got your handout on everything else, but this is not on your handout. 35 to 40% of the jobs are never listed anywhere. You're not going to find them in papers or on websites or anything. But I guarantee you, ask any manager that's here today, pick one, I don't care who it is, and say, you have a staff of people that work for you. How many people do you have working for you? You're going to role play with me. Will you do that? Okay. You're going to be the person that's a CFO at some major accounting firm or something, okay? How many people work for you?
Over 100.
Wow, that's a lot of people. Out of those 100, how satisfied are you with most of those employees and their performances?
I'd say about half.
Half, wow. So you've got some weak links, is that correct?
Yes.
So at what point do they go from being a weak link to someone you need to replace and you have a job opening?
When I find somebody who can fill the position better.
Okay, did you hear what you just said? You just role played perfect, and I didn't tell you the answer ahead of time. That's exactly right. I'm not going to post that job because they're better than having to go through all these interviews to find a new person and start all over again. But if I see somebody or meet somebody that's better than my weakest link, I guarantee you I'll think about it. I guarantee you I'll think about hiring that person and replacing the person that's causing me trouble. Ask any manager. When you're doing the interviews and they always say, do you have any questions for us? Always say, hey, can you tell me a little bit about your position? Do you manage a lot of people? How many people do you manage? How often do you post a job? When you hire people, do they come to you from job postings, or are they typically referrals? Or are they from these kind of jobs? How do you find the people that you have working for you? And when do you decide you want a new person? They're going to go, who is this kid talking to me? Why is he? Wow, I'm really impressed. So no, I don't do a lot of the whole submit your stuff online and throw it at the wall and hope it happens, but that's kind of my whole claim process. I'll give you one more fast example because I know we got to get back. My husband woke up one day and his company was out of business. Shut doors. He went into work and the doors were locked. Been with them for 8 years. And he was in his late 40s. So we're like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? I said to him, just like I just did to you, if you could do anything in the world, money didn't matter, what would you like to do? Oh, I really would love to sell CRM software. Great, who would you like to sell it for? You know, I think I'd really like to work for Microsoft. I said, would you like to work for Microsoft Direct or a value-added reseller? Probably a reseller because then I get a little more, oh, okay, let's pick up. Do you want to move? No, I need to stay in St. Louis. Picked up the Business Journal, took down the technology people. How many of them are Microsoft value-added resellers? There were 9. Out of the 9, he knew one of them. He said, never going to work for them. Don't like them. Okay, well now we got 8. Out of the 8, how many of them do you think had an opening? Because I checked their websites. First thing, I mean, easy cheesy. If they got a job listing, how many? Here's a resume. None of them. Out of the 8, none of them had a job opening. But within 2 weeks, he had 5. He had 5 interviews. He had 3 offers within 30 days. Because he used this process. It works, I guarantee. Questions? You can see me. I've got cards and handouts. And